and we're going to talk about how to fix your low testosterone. Morning, Tom. How's it going?
Morning, Michael. I'm very well. I've got my new headset with a Madonna mic on it, which I'm very impressed with.
Yes, it looks very nice. It also
Thank you very
looks
much.
like you're in the red light district ever so slightly.
Don't spread rumours about me, Michael.
All right. Just to confirm, Tom is not in the red light district. All right. So, like I said, we're going to talk about how to fix your testosterone, but we're also going to talk about maybe some stuff you don't know about, why we need testosterone, what it does, why actually since the 80s it's rapidly dropped in men, so why that might be, and we're going to give you some stuff on what to do to fix it. Because I think when it comes to like health and fitness, I don't know about you, Tom, but I think it's one of those things that doesn't really get talked about that much. It's always diet, it's always exercise, it's always, I don't know, sleep. No one really talks about testosterone, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and it's maybe it's a bit of a, I don't know, more not techie, like a more complicated thing to think about maybe. And it's obviously it's a chemical, it's a hormone inside our bodies, and it's when it comes to generally most people probably do they need to know in their normal life what these things do? Maybe not. Maybe as guys we don't tend to look into these things either. I think my wife probably knows a lot more about her hormones and how her body works than I do.
I'd say that's probably fair
Yeah,
for
and
most men, I would say, and women. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's like maybe testosterone only comes up as a thought if it becomes a problem. If you, I don't know, go to the doctors and you get tested and they say, okay, this is a reason, or if something starts to happen in your life and you think, I don't like this. Maybe some of the changes that we'll talk about that as we get older, then maybe it suddenly becomes an issue to think about.
Yeah, I think part of it is that like it's just not seen, is it? How would you know? I don't think you're going to go, oh, I'm gaining weight and I've lost a bit of strength and go, oh, I must have low testosterone. But maybe we'll talk through this today, which we will do. Obviously, we'll talk through it. And if you do have some symptoms, the chances are you have low testosterone and you need to get that fixed. Otherwise, you're pretty much always going to struggle, right? Especially if you're going 30, 35, 40 onwards, it reduces rapidly. And it's reduced rapidly since the 80s already. Like literally, we weren't the men our dads were.
Yeah, and next to me, it's an indication of maybe another indication of the overall health of the country and of people, as our general health declines as a country as an average.
Yeah.
It's another thing, isn't it? That's part of the problem that's declining. And that's not to say that actually we can't actually fix the problem. Again, it's if it's another thing maybe that people might go, do you know what, actually that is important to me, and maybe understanding it more might help people think, actually, do you know, I am going to do something about it. I'm going to start to look after myself a bit better.
Yeah, I think understanding things is always important, isn't it? You know, if you've never thought about it, maybe this talk today will give people understanding and some things to do, because look, it's quite popular now. Things like testosterone boosters and all these things, like anything, you know, there's a problem and clever people come up with a pill or something as a solution, you know, but you don't necessarily need to do that if you're living your lifestyle, because it's mainly down to lifestyle, in the right way. You know, you might, everyone gets born with different levels of testosterone. No one's the same, but your lifestyle will affect how much you keep.
Yeah, and I think probably lifestyle changes for a lot of people is maybe not the first port of call. Like you say, if an advert pops up on Facebook saying, take my pill, testosterone boosting pill, you don't need to change your life at all. You just have to take my little pill and you will be fixed.
100%. So I think let's talk about a little bit like, why maybe men's testosterone isn't like it was like in the 80s and 90s. Like, what do you think of the factors in that? I know we touched on it a little bit, but what do you think it is?
I think I think everyone will agree there's a general decline in health generally in terms of people's bodies. It's a fact, yeah. And that's probably linked into changes in diet, the proliferation of kind of lots more processing in foods that we consume. Also, we're more and more sedentary than we ever were. There's an interesting program on Radio 4 about the increase in chances of dying through sedentariness, and actually it's if you sat down for 7 hours a day, it's pretty low, and then it kind of goes up a little bit to 8 hours, and once you get to like if you sat down for 12 hours a day, is like a hundreds of % increase in chance of early death. So again, that maybe that play, yeah. So I think it just plays into general our health. If you think about what the average person consumed and did in the 80s, there were some bad things in the 80s, but generally, I think in terms of activity levels and food, it was probably broadly better. Also, I think stress levels as well. I think I think work is, most people seem to be busier.
There's so many things, isn't there? Because you think about it, like, like we were born in the 80s, right? So obviously we've only got experience of being like children, but we pretty much know what it was like, more or less, right? And I think, things like connection, meeting up with people. So you'd go and, I don't know, go for walks with people, exercise. Not saying people don't do that now, but they definitely don't do it as much. We don't have that connection. There's all these distractions. I mean, even nowadays, you wake up and you're stressed straight away because your alarm's a stressor. Got to get the kids ready for school. Maybe you answer an email, that's a stress. You're late. You don't know where the kid's uniform is. You don't know where you've left I don't know, your key to get in at work. Like, all these things are like leading to stress. You get into work, maybe you're running late. And I'm not saying there wasn't stress in the 80s, but I think, the busier lifestyle, I don't know, keeping up with the Joneses, like all these things add stress. And we know for certain that stress affects testosterone levels. If you're highly stressed, you're not going to be sleeping well. You're not going to be eating good food. Your energy level is going to be low. You're not going to want to exercise. So it's like it all comes together, doesn't it? Essentially.
Yeah, and when you were talking about moving about in the 80s, again, thinking about me as a child, I would play out pretty much every single night. And if I think about things like computer games, they were fairly niche. I think the people that sat at home playing computer games,
like looking back now, they were terrible.
Yeah. I mean, and the only people, I mean, if the only people that sat at home playing computer games were probably a bit odd. Whereas now, it's something that I notice in my son. There's a natural want to go onto screens and computer games, even though he loves playing outside. Even at 10 years old, it's kind of his go-to thing. And my go-to thing was definitely not that. When I got home from school, my go-to thing was going outside. So I say maybe there's a role to play with us men now, as we have growing up and have children, to actually maybe try and reverse this whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's if you're a parent, I think you've obviously got a duty, haven't you? You're sculpted life, aren't you? So I think 100% how the environment has changed has affected testosterone levels, and I think what also has that effect, because if you're stressed, you're not sleeping well, low energy, you're not going to be the best person to be around, are you? You're going to be miserable. And unhappiness, we know unhappiness has increased. We know depression, anxiety, all these things have increased over the years. And then, you're probably not going to want to have sex with your partner because you've got no energy. And that's going to cause even more stress and tension in relationships. So it's almost like a recipe for disaster. I'm going to have to hold it right there because we've got a visitor. The dog Lily is very clever at opening doors.
Oh, really?
Get her back out. Lily.
Yeah, that's exactly what Michael was saying. While he's going to sort his dog out, it's if you're not looking after yourself, again, in terms of mood, in terms of how you are showing up in your family, we're not going to be there for everybody in our life in the right kind of way. And like energy levels and mood, I mean, it is a sign of low testosterone. If you think, like I say, if you're thinking as we get older, our testosterone drops anyway naturally. But if you feel like it's kind of accelerated quicker than it should have done, then maybe there is a bit going on. And again, do you need to get tested for it? Probably not. But some habits that we're going to talk about, I think, is probably a good place to start.
Yeah, 100%. Apologies for that interruption, but at least wasn't there one where like someone like naked kid walked into the background, or someone's kid?
It was a live interview, and the child came in like a little. I think initially one child came in, and then another child came in like one of those little walking baby carriers, and then the nanny came in to try and secretly pull them back.
So it wasn't as bad as that, and also the one where they were trying to do quite a secret online court case, I think, and the guy was a cat.
The cat.
I'm a cat. That's class. All right, so look, I think we've identified why men have low testosterone, and it is pretty much lifestyle, diet, lack of exercise, lack of energy, poor sleep, maybe even, you know, doing things on the laptop maybe they shouldn't be, instead of engaging in sex with their partners. You know, all these things lead into it. Now let's talk about how to fix it. And the good thing is it's relatively easy to fix. There's nothing you're going to have to go out and do anything crazy. It's all things, to be honest, would you agree, Tom, that every man should be doing?
Yeah, I think so. I think looking after our bodies physically is very, very important. And I think, again, if you're going to show up for your family, for your wife, in your workplace, wherever, we should be looking after ourselves. And it's, again, it comes down to the basics. It comes down to the simple things. We don't need to overcomplicate it or try and find, again, think about magic pill of fixing. Again, it's the basics, and it's nailing those things and committing to them.
Yeah, 100%. So just to like briefly sort of clarify before we get into like some things you can put in place, some habits and changes. Like if you've got low energy, if you are stressed all the time, if you wake up tired, if you're irritable to be around, if you're unhappy, if your libido's like gone through the floor, the chances are you've got low testosterone. And we're going to give you some solutions, some things that you can literally do today to fix it. And I always think it starts with diet. You know, what you put into your body is so important, because what you put in is going to give you what you can put out. If you put in, you know, ultra processed junk food that you pick up on the road, no order into your eating, always like living off coffees and high sugar, then you're never going to fix your energy levels, are you? Because you're not got anything to give back out. So I always think if you're looking at anything, and this is pretty much testosterone and any changes, to be honest, especially health, fix your diet first.
Yeah, and you're literally made from what you eat. My body's made from it. The human body is amazing because it can cope with so much stuff. It can cope with so much shit we throw at it, and survive. But if your body is showing signs of not being what you want it to be, if it's showing signs that you don't want, then that's an indication of what you're putting in is wrong. And it's not about totally changing everything from the get-go and going, right, do you know what? I'm going to cut out everything and I'm going to be like absolutely perfect. I'm going to that perfect diet. It's about thinking about what small changes can I make and commit to. And
which is, again, by the way, just to inject, is really important, because I can guarantee there's people listening to this morning that have tried the giving up everything, the all or nothing approach. That I'm not going to eat carbs, I'm not going to eat sugar, there's going to be no crisps, biscuits, and all these things. But I can guarantee there's people listening to this that have tried that and it hasn't worked. So stop doing it.
Yeah.
2 to 3 small changes each week. Look at your diet, a few little tweaks. Maybe I always think, looking at like, what's the biggest challenge in my eating? Is it like I don't eat breakfast, or am I not getting enough protein? And I always like to think, what's the real big challenge there? I think a lot of it, to be honest, comes down to like, because your energy levels are low and you're always stressed, you're never going to make those good choices, and you're never going to go out and go, do you know what? I'm actually going to prepare myself for the week. What do I actually need to eat? Right? Organization.
Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't need to get rid of that all or nothing attitude. And it's like I'm talking to one of my clients this week. It's like unrelated subject in terms of she wants to be able to do press ups, and she can't do any at the moment. So we're doing it on an angle, and slowly we'll work it down. And in a year's time, we talked about what would she like to be able to do? Oh, I'd like to be doing 10 press ups. Fantastic! It's absolutely nailed on and guaranteed. If she carries on doing our little routine, she will be able to do it in a year's time. It's just going to take a bit of time. It's not complicated. It's just committing to it and doing the basic stuff. And it's the same with diet.
And making, by the way, just being consistent, because she only does like, you know, say she's doing 10 at the moment on the step and she leaves it 2 weeks till she does the next 10. She's never going to build up that strength. So the same with diet. If you're having one good day and the other 6 are shit, or even vice versa, if you have 5 good days and the 2 at the weekend are terrible, you're never going to build up that level of consistency, and you're always just going to be going around in that circle.
Yeah. And I know that consistency works 100%. No, it's absolutely guaranteed. But I think if we expect things to happen too quickly, then we lose sight of that. But if you committed to making even one change a week, if you said, I don't know, I'm going to eat a piece of fruit for breakfast this week, and then next week I'm going to add something onto that, and every single week you did one thing, in a year's time your health will be transformed. Absolutely, and that's guaranteed. There's no, you can have my Tom Hill money back guarantee on that. It's absolutely guaranteed your health will be absolutely transformed if you made one change every single week and committed to it.
I think the problem with that is that people go, but it's not fast enough. We always want things yesterday, right? All right. So, yeah, just to clarify, I think, like we said, like food, what you eat, what you put into your body is massive, because it's going to give you what you need to put out. And what you put out, probably the next one, what would you say would be the next one for you, Tom? But obviously, we looked at food.
I think it's got to be movement. It's got to be some exercise.
Yeah.
It's got to be getting it in. For a lot of things, exercise is the magic pill. If you look at, again, if you spent 5 minutes looking at research on exercise and found one of those blog posts which has, I don't know, 100 stats based on what improves when you do exercise, it's so many things. And kind of boosting testosterone levels is just one of those things. I've never met any.
Just quickly, they interviewed the FTSE 500 CEOs, and all of them, and there was one thing in common. Do you know what it was?
Go on. I think I can guess, but go on.
Yeah, regular exercise.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be lots and lots. For I know an hour a week of pretty intense exercise, I've split up into 3 little bits, or maybe an hour and a half. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to be thinking, right, I'm going to go to the gym every single day to do it.
Yeah, I think 150 hours, they reckon, is the minimum.
Minutes, Mike.
Yeah, minutes. Yeah. So, it's not that much really when you work out how many hours you have in a week. But again, it's like, it's making that, you've got to make that commitment. It's not going to happen unless you go, do you know what? I'm going to make the commitment. I'm going to find the time to do it, because it's important. And I think people maybe sometimes get a little bit mixed up with too many different things they can do and try, and information overload, isn't it? Where it's like, just do something, go for a walk, grab the bike, get some weights at home, because resistance training is going to increase your testosterone, massively important. So if you're going to look to do anything, especially as men, not just men, women as well, really important, improve strength as you get older. Resistance training, whether it's at home in the gym, is like massive.
Yeah, and I've never met anybody that wishes they were weaker.
No,
it just doesn't happen. And again, going to my client, one of the things that she wants to feel strong. She doesn't want to feel doesn't want to feel weak, and it's something that the women I speak to is more so. It's empowering to be able to physically do the stuff that they couldn't do. Also, to be able to look after yourself physically is a sign of longevity. It's one of the biggest indicators of how long we live.
Yeah, I think I listened to a podcast, and the guy was like, he had like all the data, and it was something crazy. Like, if you're not strong and you get maybe you have to have a hip injury or hip replacement, you go in hospital. If you're not strong and you're like 70, something crazy, like you have a 50% chance of not dying straight away, but more likely to die in the next 5 years or something, just because of that one thing. Because I guess the recovery is not as great, and you're not going to move as much. So you've just, from that one injury, you've suddenly just doubled your chance of dying in the next 5 years. Yeah. And he had loads of markers like that, all around strength. Because obviously, if you're not stable as you get older, you're much more likely to fall over. And that's how a lot of people actually end up dying, unfortunately.
Yeah. Balance comes from strength.
Yeah.
And balance is probably one of the first things. I know my mum's pretty old, and the people I know lots of people her age. It's one of the first things that goes. And then once you lose your balance, there's a little lack of, you lose that confidence.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You're feeling unbalanced, so you're feeling like you might fall over if you go out, which means you don't go out, which means you don't do any movement, you don't do any exercise. You're basically accelerating yourself to death, unfortunately.
Yeah. So again, don't overcomplicate it. Again, thinking about, I don't know, press-ups. If you're not doing anything physically now, I don't know, 3 sets of 10 press-ups, 2 or 3 times a week.
Get down now.
Yeah. Again, that doesn't. Again, commit to it. Go. Do you know what? It's nailed on and guaranteed. If you commit to doing strength training 3 times a week, let's say half an hour, it's absolutely guaranteed that given time, your strength and your body will be transformed. It is a guarantee.
Well, that's the beautiful thing, though, isn't it? I always think is that obviously some things aren't reversible. There's certain things, illnesses and things that we get, diseases that aren't reversible. But there's also a lot of things that happen to us that are reversible, that we can fix, like testosterone, you know, things like that. It's like we've got the power to fix these things, which is great. You know, if I want to get stronger, I can get stronger. I can lift weights. You know, if I want to get fitter, I can move my body. If I want to get healthier, I can eat healthy food. Like when you think about that, it's like, it's really cool, because then we've got the power. Yeah. Like we're empowered. We're not living in the victim mentality of this has happened to me, I can't do anything about it. Like obviously certain things you can't. I'm just going to put this light back on. But certain things, like say, certain things you can, and it's great. It's empowering to go, do you know what? I can make these changes. And it happens quick as well, right? Where you start to make these changes and you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Again, making changes, committing to them, and is one of the first things that I remember when I started looking after myself better all those years ago. Was at one point I remember suddenly seeing a change and going, oh, this actually somewhere in my brain, this actually works. The stuff that I'm doing, which sometimes I don't really want to do, sometimes I don't really enjoy. Oh, okay. So if all the little thing that I'm doing now has worked, what would happen if I did a little bit more? And it's like a snowball.
100%. And you see it with clients. You see it. Obviously, we've been doing this quite a long time now, and at the beginning, you have a few wins, you start to lose a bit of weight, you start to get a little bit of energy, and it happens in the first 1 or 2 weeks, and then you just get that momentum, and you feel so good. You're like, well, I feel this good now after 2 weeks. Where can I be even further? So you want to make more changes. You want to commit to the gym and do all these things. So again, guys, just to clarify, we've got the food we eat and exercise, which we all know, to be honest, is massive, right? What do you say would be number 3 if people are looking to fix their testosterone?
I think it's maybe stress management, looking after the stress levels, assessing whether you have too much stress in your life. And again, maybe a sign of that could be kind of fatigue and not sleeping well. Are you irritable? Are you kind of snapping at your kids or your partner at home? And again, these are all signs. And again, fixing that, there are some fairly simple ways of fixing it. Again, it's about committing to it and going, do you know what, this is important.
Yeah, stress management's massive. I think I speak to a lot of guys though. I think men sometimes are unwilling to admit that they're stressed. And stress is everywhere in life. If you leave for work and suddenly you're in a traffic jam, that's added stress. There's stress all the way, all everywhere. But I think it's about how you manage that stress. So if you can exercise, one of the best things you can do for stress. All right, yes, it's definitely look at fixing your stress. And if you are irritable, if your wife says you're irritable, you're probably stressed.
Yeah, and another sign
she's probably right as well.
Yeah, another sign if you get home and you pull the drive and you get in the house and you open the fridge and open a can and go, that's quite a common sign that you're using a drug. Let's say we're using a drug in a liquid form to help us with those stress levels. If you are coming in and you're using something, again, that could also be a sign, and that's quite a common one.
Not the best way to deal with stress. Which actually follows on to sleep, which I'd say is the next one, massively important. But if you're less stressed, if you're exercising, if you're eating healthy, first of all, you're going to promote the testosterone levels, but you're also going to sleep so much better, aren't you?
Yeah.
And, I think there's something crazy, like 50% of the UK population struggle to sleep. And I just find that eye-opening. And we've talked about sleep a lot, but people still, obviously, they're not going to suddenly just fix it because of our talks and stuff, but people struggle with it so much. And it's just like, I don't sleep well. Oh, how long's that been? 20 years? And you're like, what?
It's one of those things. I'm just going to accept. Yeah, it's an acceptance. Again, it's amazing what us as people can put up with and cope with. And lack of sleep is a good one.
No wonder people are stressed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. But then one of the great things about all these things, if you start putting these little habits in, it all starts to go together, and it all starts to help together. Again, that snowball effect of improving your diet, exercising. Suddenly, okay, I'm going to manage my stress in a different way. I'm going to do some meditation. I'm just going to talk. Maybe I'm just going to talk to my family about it. I'm going to maybe get in a little bit of a routine at bedtime, and suddenly, all these things, which small little things here or there, all come together.
100%. 100%. And we have done a live on sleep. So if you do want to check that out, it's on YouTube. Maybe we'll put a link in afterwards. But there's lots of help on YouTube with different things and strategies you can try. And even if you took away that one thing from this and go, do you know what? I'm going to work on my sleep. Work on that. I guarantee things will get better. 100%. Yeah. Last one I'd say is we'll give you two, I reckon, little bonus one at the end. I would say just managing your own weight, your own, making sure you don't have excess body fat and, having a healthy overall lifestyle, like all of them together, managing weight, lifting weights, like general well-being, I'd say is probably the last one. If you manage your weight, then you all can have higher testosterone than someone that doesn't manage their weight.
Yeah. And again, the weight, if again, look at the stats, find them. Again, managing your weight or having a healthy weight is very, very important. And in terms of longevity, in terms of how our body functions, as guys, if we've got a lot of weight around our middle, again, that's a sign of is it visceral? No, subcutaneous. Yeah, which the one around the organs.
Yeah, again, dangerous fat.
Yeah. As men, we tend to store more fat around our organs, which is why men have more diseases of the organs, heart disease, liver disease, all those things because of that fact, just an evolutionary fact. So again, it's managing weight is super important.
All right, last one. This is a bonus one. And I think this is a result of doing all these things. So this is a result of sleeping well, eating well, maybe lifting weights, reducing your stress, all these things, managing your weight. If you've got a partner or a wife, go and have sex with them. Because you're going to feel better, aren't you? Hopefully afterwards, right? You're going to feel a bit less stressed. You're going to be in a better mood. So is your missus probably, or vice versa. And you're going to promote more testosterone through your body. And also your energy level is going to be better. So you're probably going to want to do it a bit more.
Yeah. Again, it's that feedback loop, isn't it? Is doing the actions that help increase the testosterone. Again, you get that feedback loop. And again, intimacy with our partners is super important. Certainly for longevity.
Be happier.
Yeah. And as family men, these life kind of takes for a certain time takes kind of over everything.
Yeah.
Kids coming along, and again, we want to make sure when we come out of the other side of having children that we're still a couple, and we haven't forgotten the reasons why we were together in the first place, and that intimacy is part of that.
100%. So guys, obviously there's quite a lot of information to take in about testosterone, why we struggle at the moment, how to fix it. Tom's actually made a course, so Tom's going to put the link in after this, which is awesome. And I've also done almost like a broken down version of this, and if you want that, you can post, or I'll put the link in as well. But as always, guys, we appreciate any feedback, any shares, any likes, and also any questions, because we'll be happy to do a live about any subject, health or fitness related.
Yeah. Give us some likes, give us some comments. Again, all feedback is good. Any questions, let us know.
Yeah, and even if it's something like this is the one I'm going to go out and work on, or this is the one I struggle with, because then we can also do some talks about that, like what is it exactly you struggle with potentially. Good to be back, mate. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to talk about these things.
100%. Yeah, even wrapping up with that, like it's if you've got a mate or someone, especially men, like don't be afraid or shy about talking about these things, because if you'll probably talk to your mate and go, do you know what, I'm a miserable bastard to be around as well, and then you might go, hey, I am too. No wonder my missus is not too happy with me at the moment, and then maybe that's enough to go, do you know what, I might make some changes.
Yeah, you can do it together.
Wow, probably better to do it with your missus.
No, I mean, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. All right, we're going to do another one next week, and we'll think of a topic. But if there's anything you do want us to cover, post in the comments. Cheers, Tom.
All right, thanks, Michael.